Welcome! Today, we are diving deep inside the brain to figure out something we've all wondered about. How can a single, simple email have the power to completely hijack your entire day with emotion?
You know the feeling, right? That one message lands in your inbox and bam! Suddenly, your heart is racing, your palms are sweating, and your whole day just feels, well, ruined.
But here's the thing. That reaction isn't some kind of flaw in your system. It's actually a feature, a really old survival mechanism that's been protecting us for thousands of years. And the best part, we can actually learn to understand it and work with it. So, let's get into it. Okay, so the very first thing that happens in your brain is incredibly fast. I mean, we're talking about milliseconds here. This all goes down long before you're even consciously aware of what you've just seen or read. This is what psychologists call primary appraisal. It's your brain's first gut-level check. It's not thinking deep thoughts, it's just asking one simple binary question. Is this good for me or is this bad for me? And that split-second answer is what kicks off that physical fight-or-flight response before you've even had a chance to think about it. And what's really wild is that this is not a new idea at all. I mean, look at this illustration from Descartes. It shares the very same concept. A physical thing, the fire, causes an immediate, totally automatic reaction. He was basically sketching out the brain's hardware for this exact process hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And here's a really crucial design feature. You can think of this system like a smoke detector. You absolutely want it to go off when you burn some toast, because the one time it's a real fire, that extra sensitivity is what's going to save your life. Our emotional alarm evolved with the exact same logic. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
And that sensitivity, it has a very specific direction. Because of what scientists call a negativity bias, our brains are basically hardwired to react way more intensely to potential threats than to potential rewards.
This chart just illustrates the point perfectly. Study after study shows the same exact thing. The psychological sting of losing something, say $10, is consistently more powerful than the joy you feel from gaining that exact same amount. It just hits us harder. Now, from an evolutionary standpoint, this makes perfect sense. Our ancestors, who were hyper-aware of every little rustle in the bushes, every potential danger, well, they were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. So that cautious, threat-detecting brain, yeah, that's the one we've all inherited.
Okay, so the alarm has sounded. We've got this raw feeling of good or bad. So now let's move to the next stage and see how our brain turns that raw signal into a specific named emotion like anger or guilt or sadness.
Right after that automatic gut reaction, your conscious mind finally steps in. And it acts kind of like a detective, you know? It shows up at the scene, looks at the evidence, and tries to figure out what just happened, why it happened, and most importantly, what it means for you. And according to the pioneering work of psychologist Richard Lazarus, your inner detective starts asking a whole series of questions. And just notice how personal these questions are. Is this even relevant to my goals? Does this help or hurt me? And the big one, how does this reflect on me personally? So here's the really crucial point. The answer to those questions, especially who or what you blame, is what determines the specific emotion you end up feeling. Think about it. The exact same event, like getting a bad grade, can lead to guilt if you blame yourself, anger if you blame the teacher, or sadness if you just decide it was bad luck. Understanding this two-step process, well, it's everything, because it reveals the exact moment, that little gap between the alarm and the story, where we can step in and consciously take the wheel. This is the big question, isn't it? And the answer, from decades and decades of research, is a huge, definitive no. The tool we can use is called emotion regulation, and here's the best part. It's a totally learnable skill. So when we look at common strategies, there is a clear winner. On one side, you've got suppression, just trying to bottle up your feelings. It often backfires and can even jack up your stress levels. But then look at reappraisal. This is about consciously changing the story you tell yourself, and it is incredibly effective at changing the emotion itself. And get this. This is just fascinating. In one study, people who were simply asked to talk to someone who was actively suppressing their emotions showed a measurable increase in their own blood pressure. Your internal struggle can literally, physically rub off on other people. Reappraisal doesn't just make you feel better in a vacuum. It actually helps you make smarter, more rational decisions in really tense social situations. It lets you respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting emotionally, even when you've been treated unfairly. Okay, let's bring this all back to that stressful email from the beginning. Let's really look at how these two different paths, the automatic reaction versus the regulated response, actually play out.
Now, you cannot change the words in that email. That event is fixed. It happened. But look at the difference here. The automatic path, the first story, leads you straight to a tangle of fear and anger. But the reappraised path, where you consciously choose a different, more constructive story, that leads to focus and determination. Same event, completely different reality.
So, if you take away one thing from this, let it be this. While you can't stop that initial automatic alarm from sounding, you absolutely have a say in what happens next. You are the author of the story that follows that alarm.
And that's the fundamental power that comes from understanding the science of how we feel. The alarm is automatic, but the story you tell yourself about it, that is always a choice. Thanks for joining this explainer.